Welcome to the Wonder With Me podcast, where I, Dr. Tonia Winchester, invite you to get curious with me about all things mind-body healing, especially how we can unlock the incredible healing power of our unconscious minds, so that we can all get out of stress mode and go back into healing mode. We'll talk about how you can easily create healthy, sustainable self-care habits so that you can calm your mind, sleep deeply, wake rested, and enjoy happy, energized days. Ultimately, so that you can make a bigger difference in your well-being and that of your family and the world around you. These casual chats are for educational purposes only and don't constitute a therapeutic relationship. With all that said, let's get this episode underway. Come wonder with me. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Wonder With Me podcast. I am your hostess, Dr. and/or Coach Tonia Winchester, and this is episode number 50. Why do we all lie to ourselves? Woof, what a title. In this episode, I share my experience recently listening to a very well-known song and actually really listening to it, to the lyrics, which I'd never really done before, and how this sparked this whole train of questions and curiosities and really got me wondering about why we negate ourselves, why we lie to ourselves, why we deny our truth, why we do this both on the inside and in our outwardly facing lives and behaviors. And so here we are, we're getting curious about that today, and I think that's enough to dive right into it. So with all of that said, let's get into it. Let's get wondering. Okay, so you know that song that's like, if you like pina coladas? What a catchy tune, right? It came on my Spotify playlist. You know those ones where Spotify's like, I think I know you better than you know yourself. Here's a song you might like. And I'm just like bopping away in the car. Woo, this is a great lineup. And then this song comes on, which now that I'm actually looking up the lyrics, I see the title is called Escape. And it looks like the songwriter here, possibly the performing artist, I don't remember, is called Rupert Holmes, to give credit where credit is due. And we might know this more colloquially as the Pina Colada song. Here are some of the lyrics. The first line, I was tired of my lady. We'd been together too long. Like a worn out recording of a favorite song. He goes on to say that while she's sleeping, he goes and he puts an ad in the personal column. That's when he starts going into the, if you like pina coladas, getting caught in the rain. If you're not into yoga, if you have half a brain, that's all he requires, half a brain. If you like making love at midnight in the dunes on the Cape, then I'm the love that you've looked for. Write to me and escape. Okay. So he puts this ad out in the personal columns. Oh, I have this incorrectly. He read that in the personal columns. So then he writes a letter back in the... this is back in the day before Tinder, right? This is back in the day before swiping existed. This is when people would actually open a newspaper, go to the back, and see what was available for sale, see what was available for scooping up in terms of lovers who like pina coladas. This was back in the day, right? So what happens next is he writes a response back, and he's kind of like, hey, I like pina coladas. Yeah, I like getting caught in the rain. And so these people arrange to meet up through this classified ad. And when he's there waiting for this magical mystery woman to arrive, in walks, guess who? His lady. So his lady is the one who put out the ad, the one that he was tired of, and yet here they find each other, newly understanding that, wait a minute, I didn't know that you like pina coladas. Wait a minute, I didn't know that you like getting caught in the rain. I didn't know that you like the feel of the ocean and the taste of champagne. No, wait, you like making love at midnight? Okay, so the summary of the plot of this song with its twists and turns is basically she's bored, he's bored, and then they find each other. And why did they get so far into their relationship not knowing these things? Why do we get so far into our relationships, into our jobs, into our commitments, pretending to be a totally different person or not fully exposing who we actually are? And yes, I understand in certain situations, there's identities that we bring to those situations. There's personas that we wear. And we wear these types of personas for a number of reasons: to fit in, to get accepted, to get love. And sometimes that's actually perfectly appropriate. And so we can find counterexamples of when that's perfectly okay to do. And what I'm actually talking about here, which I'm assuming that you know, is those other places where you would think it wouldn't be necessary and yet we still do it. And I'm not even really talking about the things that bring us shame in terms of how we behave, although that can be part of this discussion. I'm really just talking about the pieces of ourselves that are really, truly us, that we might even be very proud of, that for whatever reason we hide and don't express and don't share. Why are we lying? Hiding the truth? Some might argue that lying, the definition of lying, is really more about the intent to deceive. And I don't know if this is intentional. I don't think we're waking up every day saying, today's the day I have to hide my trueness, my true self. I have a feeling it's more unconscious. It's driven by a deep need to connect and gain love and acceptance. The weird thing about connecting, though, is we need to be vulnerable to do that. We can't connect in a way that's real and authentic when we're not being real and authentic. Don't you find this interesting? I'm reflecting on these lyrics in my own life, and I can see the places where I haven't told people I like pina coladas, which I don't particularly like, by the way. That's not the point. But those places where I've hidden the fact that I like getting caught in the rain, which isn't the best, but again, we're talking figuratively here, metaphorically. It felt in those moments more important to hide, whether or not you consider that lying. I'll leave that to your own subjective decisions. But yeah, it felt more important to hide than to say, you know what? I like these quirky things. I like these quirky things. So what would it take for us to be able to express who we are, who we want to be, and what we want to do and what we want to have? Those things that we desire. Those nuances within us that we round the edges of, that we smooth over, that we bury down. What would have to be true within us for us to be totally fine to express and put ourselves out there in a way that's bold and brazen and says, yeah, I like making love at midnight, or whatever the thing is. It's a really interesting thing. And again, because we are in certain scenarios going to have personas. But what if we didn't need to have that? What if we could just be 100% whole in all circumstances of our lives, where we come forward as our trueness, our wholeness, and don't have anything to hide? I don't know. Would the world crumble? I don't know. Would everything fall apart? I'm not sure. Of course, this would take a certain level of self-awareness that I might argue a lot of people don't have. However, in this hypothetical imagined world, let's say they do. How does that make things different for us? There would be less games that we play, less of these back and forth power dynamic dances that we engage in. There would be less of those assumptions. Oh, I thought you liked Chinese food. No, I never said I liked it. There would be less negative interpretations. I talk about this in my book. Here's the podcast plug for Thinking Kindly, 7 Steps to Stop Self-Criticism and Change Negative Thoughts into Positive Ones. I talk about how when we're upset, it's because we've made an interpretation about what someone did and what it means. And I challenge my readers, and maybe I challenge you now to make 7 other interpretations, but that is a different conversation for a different time, because right now we're talking about why we hide who we are and what it would mean if we didn't have to do that. There would be no guessing games. There would be no hours spent lingering if we're liked or disliked. We could just know the truth, hear the truth, be okay with the truth, and move on. Not just the truth from within us, but also the truth that comes from other people, because we're not going to be liked by everybody. What a world it would be. What a thing to get curious about today. I'm super curious about what you think about this. If everybody was so healed and so whole that they didn't need to hide or lie who they are, what would be different? And bring this back down home to you. I've been speaking kind of generally globally, but bring this back home to your heart. Where's a place where you're really aware that you're not connected, not aligned to your trueness, that you're putting on a persona that maybe other people are aware of and maybe not, but it's certainly blocking you from connecting deeply with the people around you? What is that thing for you? And what would life be like if you didn't have to do that, didn't have to put on that persona, didn't have to hide that thing? What would that mean? It's probably pretty scary to think about. And if you play it out in your mind, you might even get to a point where you're like, you know what? That's not so bad. What I'm encouraging you to do as you consider these words in this podcast today, just what would be a delightful surprise for you to realize, wait a minute, you also like XYZ, or wait, you also think about these things? Or wait, you believe this thing? Me too. But the only way to actually make those connections is to speak freely and honestly about where you're at, who you are. And I, by the way, am learning this too. I am not an expert in this. I'm just getting curious about this today, to be honest. These lyrics really struck me. For the first time, I've been singing along to that song for decades, but I've never actually really paid attention to what the song was saying until now. So maybe now is an opportunity for you to start paying attention to those places where you are hiding, lying, denying, negating you, and maybe taking one small step to bring some of that into light, out to light, into the light. Something's happening. Light representing knowledge, exposure, wisdom. And if you are having trouble connecting with these parts of you that you are denying, negating, and want to know what it would be like to be able to speak your truth and stand up for yourself, move forward in your life, move forward in specific relationships, or even let go if it's the right time to do so, I can help. My sessions called Shift do a very good job of this exact thing, exposing ourselves to ourselves so we can stop living that lie, so we can stop negating ourselves, so we can start actually moving towards what it is we want deep down, because we may not even be conscious of it. So I highly recommend you check that out. You can do so at toniawinchester.com. That's called the Shift session. Okay, let's leave that there for now. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so grateful that you're here listening and getting curious about you, about your life, your health. I will catch you in the next episode of the Wonder With Me podcast. And in the meantime, may you choose to make all of your true, real dreams come true. Hey, thanks for wondering with me today. If you've got something good out of this, then please forward this episode along to the people who you know could benefit. Be sure to subscribe, and if you're really keen, you leaving us a rating and review helps us to help more people, so thank you in advance for that. If you're wanting more insights about how you can leverage the power of your unconscious mind to go back into healing mode, head on over to toniawinchester.com, where you'll find my book, Breakthrough the Insomnia Cycle, and other helpful ideas. Thanks again, and we'll connect on the next episode of the Wonder With Me podcast. In the meantime, may you choose to make all of your dreams come true.